Okay, I think we are live. Yes, I think we are. Excellent connection. Let's see if there's even comes up video on this. There we go. Okay, so we're live. Welcome to another episode of Blunder Through Blender. And today I received some shape files from our good friends at the Florida Wildlife Corridor Education Division, and I've got to bring these into Blender so we can start making the path of the panther and the path of the black bear. And this is new stuff to me, so I'm going to go through and blunder through Blender to do it. I've got a new version of Blender installed, and that version of Blender is, in fact, if I make it big here, it's Blender 3.4. And I don't have any plugins in that yet, so I have to show you how we go about getting these plugins. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to work with BlenderGIS. So if I go to BlenderGIS and type it in, then you see the Blender add-on right there. Go to Code and go to Download Zip. And the zip file, I don't want to I just want to download it. So download zip. That's really weird that my computer is asking me, this ask before opening. I don't want to open the file, I just want to download it. So maybe if I just do save link as, and then make the master. And I'm going to put it in my downloads folder, and oh, it went down several times. So I guess it happened without me even knowing it. All right. So it's in my downloads folder. Now what you do then is you go back to Blender and you go to Preferences, Edit Preferences, and you go to Add-ons, and then you install. You don't unzip. So you go to your downloads folder where you put it, and there's the BlenderGIS master. That was done in 2019. So this is the one today. So make sure I have the latest one. Been doing this with every version of Blender I have. Then click on the 3D view checkbox to turn that on, and then go down, and here you need a cache folder. I'm going to make the cache folder a cache folder on I think maybe make a new folder here. Maybe in downloads, and then make it a folder called BlenderGIS files. Then I'll know where I've put everything. And then the other thing you need to do is to get a Open Topography key. And to get that API key, you have to go to Open Topography, where you can't get any DEM or digital elevation stuff. So go to Open Topography, and I should have a request an API key. I have a password, and there it is. So you make an account with them, and then you can request an API key, and it comes up there. So select that, and then go back to Blender and paste that in there. That gives you access to the topographical information that you will need. Don't know what the other stuff is here. OSM is supposed to do buildings. We'll see if it does. I wasn't successful in doing that before. So I'm just going to then save my preferences, and then GIS appears right here. So that's helpful. And then that's where I can do my import of my shape file. So here's all my shape files, and I have them in downloads. So that's where I'm keeping everything on this computer. So I'll go to GIS and then go import shapefile. And when I find my, I think it's under statewide wildlife crossings, there it is. So these are the shape files that were provided: the bear statewide crossings, the Florida Wildlife Corridor, the panther, and statewide crossings. So maybe I'll be able to bring all of them in at once. Let's see what happens. It then asks me if I want to do it as a web Mercator or a web WGS. I do not know. So I'm going to stick with what it has. Separate objects. This is going to be interesting because that can take a lot of memory away. So I may do it after I see what it looks like. I may re-import. And let's see, there they are way over there. Now you use the period key to move in on them. Oh my. And it looks like it only did one. It just did the bare one. And it's not letting me even see them for some reason. One of the first things I do in Blender when I get in is go to View and make sure that my clip is set small enough at the start. There, they did come in, see? And large enough. The largest is 1,000,000 meters. But that way you can get closer in on stuff. And then when I hit the period key, but this doesn't look right to me. Like, I'm not sure why that isn't letting me zoom in. And there's another one down there. So something's wrong here. And so I think what I'm going to do is just restart. I'm going to make a new file and don't save this. And let me try it again. So this time I'm just going to do one shapefile because I may have gotten too ambitious, but that's how we learn. And go to Statewide Wildlife Crossings, and let's just start with Florida Wildlife Corridor. And say OK, and there it comes. OK, that looks like Florida. So that's helpful, Florida Wildlife Corridor. Let's see now if we go in and do the other. Let's see. Import shapefile. Let's then do the statewide crossings. Okay, that is really bizarre. Where did that go in relation to our corridor? Corridor's there. Statewide crossings is somewhere in there. So, rather bizarre. Is that it down there? Yeah, that's just the cube. So let's get rid of the cube. That's a 1 meter cube. Let's get rid of that. Statewide crossings is way over there. It's a single object whose center seems to be over there. But the wildlife crossings, when we zoom in, it zooms in like really bizarrely. Maybe because the state of Florida is so big. So I don't know what, you delete that. Let's try the other one. Import shapefile. Let's go for bare crossings. So this is elevation type, geometry, extrusion from field, separate objects. Origin is there. Let's see what that does. Yeah, not having a lot of luck with this. In that case, I'm going to take out the Florida Wildlife Corridor. I'm going to delete that and see what's going on here. So goodbye, Florida Wildlife Corridor. Who are you guys? You're the bare statewide crossings. I wonder if I bring back. Aha, well look at that. So the bare statewide crossings are on the map, but because it's got some weird point here, the zoom doesn't work. So what if I go to Object, Set Origin to Geometry? Didn't do a darn thing. So I'm not sure what that control point is all about there. If I try to delete that control point, so really hard, but that is a control point. It moves with those. And usually what happens in this case is you can go to Set Origin. If we go Geometry to Origin, that doesn't help. If we go Set Origin, Origin to Center of Mass, Surface, that didn't do anything. If we do object, set origin to geometry, that didn't work. But it's messing up my ability to get down in here. One thing I might be able to do is see if I can color this by putting in a new material. Make these highly green. And another thing I can potentially do is I can even find the thing. Wow, oh, there it is. I can move this down in Z. Just drop it down a little bit, because there you can see the bear crossings. There they are. But the ability to go in on them. So if I select them all, still zooming. See, zooming in doesn't do any good at all because of that massive extent there, which I can't really predict. But there's a couple of points that are in shapefiles for bear crossings, and Blender's not letting me zoom all the way in there. Those are the points right there on the map for wildlife crossings. Why one is out in the water. It's beyond me, unless that, no, I guess that's part of Florida that hasn't been included into the wildlife corridor. So here you can go to GIS and we can go get web geodata and get base map and Google satellite and say OK, and then what it does is it creates a map that we can work with. So there's the state of Florida and the wildlife crossings. So there's the map to support it. And yeah, there's that bear crossing that's in the middle of all of nowhere. And then as we come in on Florida like that, you can hit B for bounding box and take the state of Florida and cut it, and then hit E to make a cutout. Now obviously the map now is not high resolution, but now if I bring this up, I made this too low in Z, but I can bring that up to 0, which is sea level, and then rise it a bit above sea level, maybe bring it 100 meters above, maybe make it bigger than that. Yeah, there it is. So that shows us the corridor. Let me go to here and give it a material so it looks green. This weird kind of clipping, it's not the view clipping here that's making that happen. It's not the focal length. It's some kind of weird rasterization when you pull out that you can't see. So you see the bear crossings, but they don't really show up. It's like that little one there, and really hard to see them. It's almost better when you aren't clicking on them. They show up as black dots. So really hard to deal with the entire state, although that's just interesting just to be able to show that. Now let's maybe bring in another shapefile, the panther crossings, and see what that does. But once again, really hard. Oh, there they are. There are a series of lines. So I guess that's just data, shapefiles of data, where it actually looks better from here. You can see it better. So those are the panther crossings, and these are the bear crossings. Right there. Not much in the way of shapefiles though. Panther, bear, panther, bear. And that's looking at the world upside down. Here's looking at it like this. I suppose if I make this color much darker, and you can see them standing out better. And if I bring the light down, maybe, is that what I should do here? There's no real lighting on this. This is without lighting. The corridor, the panther stuff is down here, and the bear there. Okay. And do we have any other shape files that were shared with us? Statewide crossings. Oh my. Well, let's see. It may have come in. Where is the statewide crossings? So I don't see that data anywhere. Oh, unless, what did this thing do? So this is the corridor. Yeah, I've got to move that up actually. That's the Florida Wildlife Corridor, and move it up. Move that one up in the height. Maybe I should move it up to 1,000. Even that kind of does this weird rasterization thing. But the statewide crossings, I don't even know, when I zoom in it goes to the middle of the ocean. So that shapefile not mapping on. Oh no, that's panthers, okay. Statewide crossings, can't see what those statewide crossings are. Now, some of this should have data in it. So what if I turn off panther crossings and turn off the bear crossings, certainly turn off that statewide thing, and this time come in and say add import shapefile, go to the bear statewide crossings, tell it to separate objects, and then get the object name from the field, and the field would be Google Map maybe, and then say OK. Well, it certainly didn't give me any given name information. So that wasn't very helpful. That's bear statewide crossings, bear statewide crossings. All right, we don't see much there. Let me go ahead and delete that. And I have my other bear statewide crossings there. And what about the Florida Wildlife Corridor? When I turn that on, that's a single object. What if I were to add the shapefile of the Florida Wildlife Corridor, but do separate objects and get object name from field, and then yeah, just say name for the field that we're getting, because that seems to be what we have, and then bring that in. And now it comes in, but these all have numbers associated with them, and that's not helpful. That's the other Florida Wildlife Corridor. That's this Florida Wildlife Corridor. So we'll delete that. We know that that field isn't bringing in any data. Oh gosh, I've got all this other information here that I need to go through. I don't like how Blender doesn't let me jump to the end. I don't know if you're supposed to do down arrow. Just down arrow doesn't do it. I don't know if you're supposed to do control down arrow, whatever it is, because there's so much now to erase, and I can't erase it very well. Makes you then want to just delete. I can't delete. It's like I can't delete anything. Oh gosh. So maybe select the entire object. That doesn't get rid of these things. These are individual shape files that I separated, and there's a bazillion of them that you'd have to go through. Let's try it again. And delete. Okay. So if I do GIS, bring in the shapefile of the Florida Wildlife Corridor, import it, tell it that I want to do separate objects, object name, and not use name because name didn't work. Pop-up info, clamped base, alt mode, symbol ID. It's funny, I really want name, and that just gave me, I don't want the symbol ID. Base, pop-up info. I can try that. Well, that just gives you pop-up info. Doesn't help at all. So let's undo that. Undo. Oops. Redo that. Goodbye. Alright, so what's in this shapefile? Florida Wildlife Corridor. Import. Geometry. Extrusion. Separate objects. Object nail from field. Folder path. Alt mode base. I mean, name is what it's supposed to be. I'm really confused with this because the last time I did this with a different shapefile, I actually got the names of those corridors. And now I'm just getting this weird field information, which nobody wants. So if I go to Florida Wildlife Corridor again, tell it to use not name, but folder path. Try folder path. Just have to keep trying them and see. So that just says it's a Florida Wildlife Corridor folder. That does not help. Alright. Import shapefile. Florida Wildlife Corridor. Separate object, object name, symbol ID. I think we just tried. Or did we not try that? Symbol ID. Yeah, that's literally a symbol ID. So that and then good. Maybe it's just not in this data set. And I can prove to you that it actually I mean that there is a way of doing it if you have the data available, because I did get an email that had that information in it. Let me go back to my email and check it. So if I go to shapefile, and if I go down to here to conservation land shapefile and download that, and now coming through here, go to my folder, and go to downloads, and then unzip this. There it is there. Now, when I go to GIS and import shapefile and go up to FLMA, this shapefile, say separate objects, object name from field, there you have MAID and MA name. See, so the data fields do show up if they're in the data set. So here when I go MA name and I bring it in, now It's going to take its sweet time, but you're going to see that there's actual names associated with each of the areas for the conservation. I'll let that do its take its sweet time, but that does show you that there's different data associated with each of these, but it is a big data set, so you got to wait. And you'll notice that when you look at the BlenderGIS, you'll find that there is this information, and the guy from GitHub's Domleys, who developed this program, says by default all features will be merged into one unique mesh. However, it's also possible to import each into separate objects. Keep in mind, Blender is not designed to handle thousands of objects. Importing into separate objects can be very slow with a lot of features. When importing to separate objects, it's possible to define a field whose values will be used to name each feature. Newly created objects are imported into a new Blender collection. So that's what I did there. Separate objects and then object name from field. Importing into separate objects offers the ability to handle attributes data into Blender. For each newly created object, feature attributes data will be assigned as new custom properties. Then, when re-exporting this collection into a new shapefile, these custom properties are all taken into account. So things like elevation and all that. Importing all features into one unique mesh does not allow to handle attributes data, but it's the best approach for importing large shapefiles. There's an option in Preferences that allows merging automatically duplicate vertices while importing. That's useful to reduce the mesh size and memory when the imported features share a lot of vertices. Features elevation can be set up from various sources. Geometry, field picks up the elevation, object, so it's a ground object, none flat import. Extrusion value can be set up from a specific attribute field. Height. CRS. When importing a shapefile, it's necessary to specify the projection of the file. All your data must be in the same projection, must be suitable for your area of interest. Use of GIS software Explorer to manage your data before trying to import them in Blender. Each country can have a set of commonly used projections. If you don't know the projection of your data is suitable, you can transform in the right UTM zone. Most of the shape file, project file, which contains the definition of the project. So, Web Mercator, you can add one. Just add void as much as possible. Importing a shapefile stored as latitude, longitude, and degrees, or you'll lose data accuracy. So this is a lot of technical information here. And here now it's still taking its sweet time because this data set is so big. We had this problem in class the other night. There it goes, but it came in now. All right, so now you can see that with this data set, anywhere that I look, I can find, by hitting period over here, that's Big Cypress National Reserve, and that's Everglades Wildlife Management Area. And this over here is Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge, and this little area here is Marjorie Harris Carcross Florida Greenway State recipient. But this came in like way off the map. It didn't come in anywhere near our map there, so this data is off considerably. So I'd have to drag it onto my map, and then I'd have to try to line it up with the other shape file. And you can see that it's kind of working, but kind of not. Part of that is maybe because it's too high, but not so much. So it's really that its scale is off on this. So let me pause here and get back to you because I have a phone call coming in. Bye for now.